is... Well, have you ever wondered what it was like in the White House during the Obama administration? Well, if you did, there's a new book out with stories from former White House staffers titled West Wingers. And we have two of them here with us today, Michael Strautmanis and Darian Page. Hi, Michael.
Hey, Val.
Welcome, Darian. Michael, I would say you're a veteran here at this show.
I'm family.
Yeah, you are family.
Right.
We go way back.
We go way
you
back.
said you brought me a star in Darian.
I really did, and I think, you know, Darian, and I'll let her speak for herself, but one of the most inspiring things about working for President Obama was we attracted this generation of young people who were idealistic, into public service, worked really hard, and are just superstars. And so it's just great to add Darian to the Windy City family, right?
Yes,
Windy City Live.
Yes, well, welcome. Darian, how did you get introduced to the Obamas, the White House? I know you're a veteran yourself.
I am a veteran. In my senior year at college, I attended UIC. I started volunteering on the campaign. And volunteering turned into being an unpaid intern, turned into coming on to staff, and 3 days before the election, the chief operating officer said, well, if we win this thing, you're on the first flight out to DC. And so I packed up my life and caught a 6 a.m. flight.
And how old were you at that point?
Oh my goodness, 27.
27. In your whole world, and you're just flipped and you're at the White House.
Upside down.
What were you thinking when all of this happened?
What am I gonna do? And so, you know, walking through those gates on that first day with no clue of where I would sit or how the reporting structure was going to go, it was a little bit overwhelming, but I think that we were well prepared and we had leadership that got us through, and it was all just really uphill and very exciting from there.
Yeah, and one of those leaders or mentors is this man right here, Michael Strautmanis, who's been friends with the Obamas for years. When I was reading this and I was thinking about, I didn't even realize you went that far back with them. I mean, you go way back, and of course, went to the White House as chief counsel because you kind of knew him so well. You could look at him and tell what he's thinking, what he's doing. And of course, we're talking about President Obama. Right.
Well, you know, the privilege that I had really was to take the relationship that I had built over the years. I had met Mrs. Obama when she was Miss Robinson.
Right.
And I was still in college going to law school, and so they really bet on me. They poured into me. They became mentors, and that turned into a friendship. And so, to me, it was really only doing what they had taught me for me to take someone like Darian, who had served our country, put her life on the line, fought to protect this nation, to give her an opportunity to then continue that service in the White House. It only seemed fitting. I wasn't a part of, thank you. Thank you.
You're going to say you weren't a part of?
I wasn't a part of bringing her there.
Oh my God.
But once I saw her there and saw the talent that we had, I thought it was the right thing to do to put her in a position to be able to represent those veterans in the White House. By the way, it was good for me too, because we had to do our work incredibly well. Our work with veterans was important to the president, important to the First Lady, important to another member of the Windy City Live family who I work for, Valerie Jarrett.
Yes.
So we had to have the best,
yes.
And Darian really does represent and is the best.
And talking about important issues, violence was something that was important to you, specifically in the president's hometown, your hometown. And that was one of your first big tasks after getting into the White House. Talk about that.
Sure. So, you know, you get into the White House, and obviously at the time, the economy was falling down around our ears. We were in multiple wars. There was so much work to be done, but you know, we're at the end of the day, we're from the South Side.
Yeah.
He's from the South Side. She's of the South Side, and so Darian Albert, and I know many people may not remember this, but he was a young man, an honor student, who was killed coming home from Fenger High School.
Yeah.
And so, if you can imagine me, a young man from Chicago who had this enormous responsibility in the White House, seeing this happen, well, we just had to act. Right. We had to do something about it. And luckily, we had an Attorney General, Eric Holder, who wanted to get something done, a Secretary of Education, Arne Duncan, who knew the school systems and knew the principals and knew how Chicago worked. And so it was really our responsibility to act. And so we got involved.
Right, and you did that, and you were not even planning on coming here because you thought, well, you know, I got to stay here and kind of counsel the president.
Yeah,
and
I'm
be
a behind-the-scenes person at that time.
But you were called into action, and I've got to imagine that was pretty memorable, one of the most memorable moments of you being in the White House too, right?
It was, and what it made me realize was that that responsibility meant you had to act. Yeah. And so I was so used to being behind the scenes. I had always called myself a fixer.
Yeah.
So I was the person people would come to when things weren't going well, things weren't going right. Darian and I had that relationship. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And it was really Valerie Jarrett who was the one who said, you're not just gonna work on this behind the scenes. Right. You're going to Chicago. Right. And that made me realize that I had to take that moment to take my words to my ideals and act.
Yeah.
And so it was a tremendous privilege, but I have to also say, it was very stressful. It was probably the most stressful time in my life.
I'm sure. And there are so many other fantastic stories about your days. Of course, being West Wingers, you can hear it and read it in the book. Of course, Michael, Darian, thank you so much for being West Wingers is available now. We'll be right back.